Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast. This is Bruce Hutchin, host and executive producer. Each week you will hear tips, techniques, strategies, and personal stories from some of the best and funniest whitetail hunters in North America. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you do, tell a friend on social media. If not, tell me and I'll make it better. Thanks for listening, folks. This is Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast 397. And we're going to meet up with a couple of very special guys, Zach and Jason, and they have founded Bonded Under Combat Outreach Programs, otherwise known as Buc-Ops. And Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll have Zach also share how you guys get started.
Okay, appreciate it, and thanks for having us on. So approximately 10 months ago, after Zach and I went through some similar wounded programs, in and around the Fort Campbell and Tennessee, Kentucky area. We went through and those programs are unfortunately no longer in existence. And so we felt there was a huge void. And so what we did was we just took a leap of faith after a guys' weekend, going down to the Buckmasters Expo. And some good folks down there kind of put some ideas in our head. And like I said, we took a leap of faith. And so 10 months later, after retiring last year from Fort Campbell with 23 years for me, we're here today and we're running full tilt, and we're looking forward to great and wonderful things here in the future.
Zach, why don't you share how you got involved in the whole program?
Well, thank you for having us, first of all. Jason and I have been best friends for 17 years. We've been to multiple duty stations together. And as he previously stated, we were involved in some wounded warrior hunts and through a program on Fort Campbell. And unfortunately, that program kind of went to the wayside with the change of personnel and things of that nature. And so, as Jason stated, he and I looked at the possibility of continuing this type of program, but adding some new twists, so to speak, and changing up some things to make it more of a network versus just a hunting program.
And thanks for that. You know, when I think about this, we've been trying to put this together, get you Buc-Ops out to our listeners for a long time. So, you know, what's the driving force that keeps you and Jason, working so tirelessly to serve others?
Well, I can tell you, for me personally, it has to do with the fact that in the last couple of years I've undergone some pretty difficult times, and we have a lot of friends and family that served in the military as well that suffer in silence, so to speak. And really, the goal of both me and Jason is to support veterans, because that was our whole life for the last 2 decades. And we understand that in today's climate, there's a lot of veterans out there that need not only help from the VA, but help from their brothers and sisters in arms.
Why don't you pass it over to Jason, and he can give us 2 cents on that same question.
Okay.
All right, I'm here.
Yeah, Jason, what's the driving force that keeps you tirelessly working to make life better for veterans?
It really goes back to, it's probably cliche, but, from day one to where you enter the military, and, they kind of break you down from the civilian aspect of where you've been and the environment you've grown up in to a new environment to where you care about the person on your right and left. That at a certain point in time, it will come to where those 2 people, on the right and left, they're going to be the most important people around you. And so over the past 2 decades, that's been ingrained in us. And it's, just a simple slogan. I won't say a slogan, but a motto. And it's an Army value or military value that a lot of us take to heart, is never leave a fallen comrade. And really that's kind of the driving force behind that, is regardless of where you're at, what situation you're in, what environment, you will never leave a fallen comrade. And, our brothers and sisters that are out there, to include the caregivers and the family members and everybody else that's around there and is affected by them. It's about all of them as well. It's not just about the service member. And so, knowing that, and knowing that through personal issues, we go out there and we try to find those folks. And so far, we're doing a great job, but we can always do better. And I think that's the driving force is never leave a fallen comrade, and continue to always strive to be better.
So let's talk about the heart and soul of Buc-Ops, of the veterans. How do you find these men and women? And then second part of the question, how do you help them, you know, get back into, I don't want to say the real world. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but normalcy, if there is a correct word, a word.
So what we do is our primarily point of contact is through the website, which is www.bucops.org. And through there, you'll find all the information you need about the organization. And then we also have supplemental social media outlets with Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat that documents kind of our daily activities and events as we're going on. But the website, you go on the website, and what we'll do is we have the events on there, and you can go on there, take a look at what certain events that you want, register for those, and then from there, what we have is a vetting process through a volunteer board of advisors from folks throughout the outdoor and multiple civilian industries and organizations that actually take a look at and help us choose, which vets would be more beneficial, or who would possibly be needing that at that time and juncture. And what that does is it takes Zach and I out of the picture as having a biased opinion on selection. And also, too, it allows everyone that, our sponsors and donors through that to have a buy-in in the program and actually have a sense of belonging, which is a tremendous aspect for that. And then, so what we do as far as the events themselves, it's any event, if we can think of it and it's outdoors, or if it's one person or 100 people, we'll figure out a way to make it happen. And what we do is we take the event and we'll have it at a certain location depending on where it's at. And what we do kind of slightly different, instead of showing up on Friday and hunting and having some fellowship and then leaving on Thursday, and like you said, kind of going back to the real world or normalcy, what we try to do is we try to find similar like organizations that you would find on a military installation. And the organization I'm speaking of is kind of like Army Community Service. I'll speak for Army. We have Army Community Services. We have financial advisors, veteran affairs advisors, housing, different places to where if soldiers have issues or whatever aspect that they're going on, there is somebody there on a military installation they can go to. Now, that's during your active duty service. But what happens when you're out of the military, you're retired, or you choose to be discharged, and you're out into the civilian world? Well, a lot of those folks only know of the Veteran Affairs, which may be 100 or 200 miles away, and they have to drive there, once, twice, or a month, or a week, whatever. Well, what we try to do is find those similar organizations within that county or county surrounding that location of the event, invite them to the event just as an opportunity to, for fellowship, and then just kind of through natural selection, kind of just let the opportunity where the alumni or the service member or veteran actually sit and, talk to those people. And then through there, they find out that, hey, instead of driving those 100, 200 miles, they actually are right here within my county. And now also they can put a face to that name. And what we found out is it's obviously it's a work in progress, but it does work, and it's helping a lot of folks out. And so with that, the veterans, throughout their community, they're able to actually, get together and makes it a lot easier on them and the caregiver.
Why don't you hand it over to Zach, and I'm going to ask him a question.
Hey, Bruce.
Hey, Zach. And just following up what Jason said, to me, listening to you guys, it seems like there's a big disconnect when you separate, from the military, try to get into civilian life and all the standardization that is the environment completely different, and the veterans really don't know where to go to get the help. Is that correct?
In some cases, yes. You know, when you get out of the military, they make you go through a program that's mandatory, mandated by Department of Defense, which is basically a transition program. And the military does a decent job of informing soldiers and Marines, airmen, and Navy um, the types of programs that are available when you transition, and they kind of teach you how to get to those programs and things of that nature. But you know, most military individuals, when they're getting out, they, you know, it's kind of like that. Um, Cherry in front of them, they're ready to get out. And so listening during those briefings and things of that nature is a little difficult. And then, you know, as Jason stated earlier, they may go back to small town USA, your Mountain City, Tennessee, your Sumter, South Carolina, you know, things of that nature. And, you know, there might not be those services close to them as far as veteran affairs or a military installation. And so knowing that there's organizations like Disabled Veterans Organization, the VFWs, the American Legion, things of that nature, greatly assist veterans in getting done what they need to get done, like reevaluating their disability claims, helping with job placement, things of that nature.
And so the resources are there, but it's, you know, one thing I heard Jason say, it's help. You guys are helping connect the dots by inviting people to an event where they meet these people face to face in a relaxed type of environment, and they become friends, or they realize that somebody gives a rip about them and is going to help them through whatever they're doing. Is
Yes,
that correct?
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I mean, the big thing of our program is you know, there's a lot of individuals out there that want to help. They just don't know how. So we're not only providing the map for the veterans, but we're also helping the outside agencies get to the veterans quicker and in a more expedient way.
Yeah, I've talked to a number of different organizations. They've been on and off, and but you're the first one that we've had this type of discussion about. You know, the resources are available. Everybody, you know, looks at it. I live in Colorado Springs. I mean, there's a gazillion resources because the military is $1 billion industry in Colorado Springs, no question about it. So everybody sort of kind of knows, you know, where to go to. But you know, if somebody transitions from a different place and moves here for whatever reason, they're sitting in their boat and they're going, "How do I get my oar in the water?"
Exactly.
And I look at you guys, and you know where you're having you know time together and facilitating, you know, events. One of the big things that I'm hearing you say is that, you know, we do help people connect the dots wherever they are. Now let's talk about, how big are you? How many states or regions in the country are you involved in?
Well, right now, we have gone to Michigan. We have some organizations that are willing to help in Florida, here, obviously, in Tennessee and Kentucky. We have an event up in South Dakota next year during deer season. So really, our sphere of influence is expanding almost weekly. And you know, as far as like regional offices or regional people involved with Buc-Ops, right now it's just Jason and I. And reason for that is you know, we're still relatively infant company slash nonprofit, and you know, we're trying to kind of get everything in order before we start trying to even look at expanding.
Now, are you a 501c3?
Yes, we are a registered 501c3, and you know, that is a long and tedious process for anyone that has not done it.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But it's worthwhile because that, you're already legit, but that under tax rules and everything, you know, gives you the stamp that you need for donations and write-offs for people who are donating, and other, you know, and other things that you need to do for people. Now, have you thought about your regional directors yet, or are you just too new to even expand that way?
No, we're too new. We you know, that's within the 5 to 7 year plan. However, right now, like you just stated, we are too new to even look at that right now. Jason and I bought my truck in June of 2016, and I had just over 40,000 miles on it. I have almost 80,000 now, between June and now. Jason and I have done a lot of face-to-face meetings with individuals in other states. We've gone to numerous expos and met not only sponsors but veterans. So, we're really doing it the old-fashioned way. And as they say, it's harder to say no to somebody to their face than it is, over an email or a message or something like that.
That's true. And I see in your bio, you're members of NRA and QDMA and National Wild Turkey Federation and the VFW. But I'm thinking of the outdoor industry types about how you can broaden your network through them by at their bank, their Ducks Unlimited Big Lang Banquet, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, big game banquets or whatever, they're called. Now, are you going to all those and talking to the, getting the 5 minutes and saying, hey, this is who we are. And we got a, table over here and we're going to give away this gun or whatever, our sponsors, making this available. Have you done that?
We have been to a couple of shows, mostly local here around the Kentucky, Tennessee area. We've been asked to speak at about 4 or 5 different venues, exchange clubs, VFWs, things of that nature. And so really that process, as I said earlier, that process is moving and we're getting more and more requests to come speak. Now, we just obtained a partnership / sponsorship from C3 Custom Coolers. And I spoke with the program manager today, and they want to basically broadcast our program through all of their social media and through their company to assist in our program because they're extremely staunch supporters of the veteran community.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of QDMA and Lindsey Thomas. He's the director of communications down there. Have you ever talked with him?
No, we actually have not. We're trying to get contacts and things of that nature, and as we get them, we reach out to them. We've really focused on the NWTF here, and that's really the big thing because we're both obviously chapter members and things of that nature. So we're kind of working our way up.
Right. Have you talked to Brenda Valentine from National Wild Turkey Federation?
No, we actually have stayed within the Tennessee area, and we're working on POCs, like I said earlier, of people of that stature. But we're kind of trying to prove ourselves because, as you know, there's many nonprofits out there, and proving ourselves and showing that we stand out and we're different is a big priority for us.
Well, I've read your resumes and stuff, and so it's pretty strong. And just talking to both you and Jason, you bring a different flavor, and that's not to say anything about anybody else. It's just that, you guys come from a different position that maybe will open some doors that otherwise wouldn't be open. I don't know how I'm trying to say that, but, I'll do my best to get you in touch with a couple people that I know at QDMA and with National Wild Turkey Federation, because it would seem to me just the opportunity. You're already driving the miles, but if you can get to one banquet and have 5 minutes, just to say who you are, introduce, get on the program for just a couple of minutes. There's literally hundreds of people there, plus the organizers are movers and shakers typically in that community, wherever it is, or they wouldn't be the committee chairman. I'm talking out loud, listeners, and the reason I'm doing this, listeners throughout North America, is because we need to support our vets. There's no question about it. Men and women who served our country, and sometimes they just get lost. And this man doesn't think that's right. I served and I was able to assimilate back, and I didn't have any issues as a lot of people do. But correct me if I'm wrong. It's still 22 people a day, veterans commit suicide. Is that still a fact?
Yes. As of right now, the average is still 22.
And so, that's flat, dead wrong, and shouldn't be happening. But, Zach and Jason are doing their their part to do it, and that's why we're having the show today. So let's talk about, you're in Tennessee and Kentucky area, and if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
So what they could do is, again, they can, register. They take a look at the website, www.bucops.org. And on there, we have, a plethora of information from our background of, why and who we are, all the way to pictures and videos of everything we've done along the way. And one tab on there is our events tab. And on that events tab, they click it and they'll see, an event. And like, for instance, we have one coming up this weekend in Cordon, Indiana. So if somebody were to, before want to participate in a Cordon, Indiana turkey event, spring turkey event, they could click on it, and what it does is it auto populates just a small screen with some short information, personal information, and then once they submit that, we get an automatic email of saying that individual has sent us some information, and then from there I'll go and I will contact them, via phone or reply back, and then from there if they're interested, then what we'll do is we have I ask them to send their DD 214 if they're veterans, a 214, and their VA letter for disability rating, or if they're active duty service member, their records brief, and then from there they can we'll take a look at it and vet them through our process. Along with that, we also have a liability and media waiver, to cover ourselves, and then also some more pertinent information. That way we can get to know the person, and then also when it comes time to pairing them up with a guide, we can kind of find that guide that they may have some similar things in common, and therefore it might help them out, just sitting in a blind or sitting in a tree or spending time together. That's another opportunity that they can get to go to talk and possibly even, the veterans share, or maybe they're both veterans and share.
Yeah, let's hand it back to Jason. You guys said that was a great segue about sitting in the blind. What about this turkey hunt this spring? What's that all about?
So we have one that's coming up in Cordon, Indiana, and it's with the Hero Reward with a gentleman by the name of Rodney Bruce, and he has been so kind and gracious along the way. He was probably one of three that we first met, and just has made an immediate impact upon us by giving mentorship and guidance along the way. And so he's allowed us to bring 6 veterans up to his place in Indiana for a spring turkey hunt. All expense paid. The only thing that the veterans have to do is just get themselves there, and hunting license, equipment if they need it. A very beautiful campground. I want to say a campground, a compound. It's absolutely beautiful. That they'll get to stay there for 2 nights and 3 days. They'll get to have their own personal guide, travel to and from, if they need ATV or 4-wheelers or trucks, whatever. Also, one of the things too is we have a Rambo bike, which has been donated by Rambo, which is a automated, or it's a mountain bike, but equipped with a battery pack that allows you to go places that you would never think you could if you were a disabled or injured person, service member. So we've got pretty much everything covered, but to include food and some we're bringing some giveaways and stuff like that, and then Rodney's also providing this. But this is something that he does once a year with the spring turkey, and then he also does a deer hunt. And there's also veterans throughout other places and locations that'll be there, along with some first responders.
That's great. Now, what about the 2016 whitetail hunt in Kentucky? What happened on that?
Okay, so Jim Johnson, who is the owner of Sweet Rack 18 Deer Attractant, he invited Jason and I to come up to kind of survey the land, which is how we do before we set up a hunt. We always go to the location and do a survey of the area to make sure it's veteran accessible. If there's a wheelchair veteran or an amputee or something of that nature. So we drive up to Smithland, Kentucky, and we were all excited for a nice deer hunt because Jim and Keith, who own the land, they lease the land. They have some pretty big 10-pointers, some big 8-pointers, and things of that nature. And so Jason and I were pretty excited about getting up there and doing a hunt. Well, when we got there, we had decided that we were going to camp out instead of rent a hotel or anything like that. And so we had the tents, we had the cots, we had the fans, the grill, all the good stuff that you have when you were camping out. Well, we got there and it was about 95 degrees in the shade. And it was absolutely the hottest hunt I've ever been on in my entire life. I don't want to say it was miserable, but it was miserable. You did nothing really but sweat. And I think the only thing I saw was sweat in my eyes. And I'm pretty sure Jason saw the same thing. We saw no deer that trip, and no turkeys, no nothing. There was no wildlife moving. It was a pretty fun experience. We were, sleeping in our skivvies and things of that nature.
And I think, I've never hunted 90-degree weather. I'm just trying to think back, but I've hunted sub-zero weather a lot. I'd rather have sub-zero than 90 degrees and 90 degrees humidity. 90 doesn't work.
Bruce, let me tell you, Jason and I talked about that. Both of us have deployed numerous times to not only the desert, but the mountains of Afghanistan and the Balkans. And, we both came to the conclusion that we would rather hunt in freezing weather than, the extreme heat. It was an experience.
Why don't you pass it down to Jason? He's going to talk to us about the future and what's needed and how people can get involved with Buc-Ops.
I'd like to, if you don't mind, I'd like to just add one.
Okay.
You had asked how people can get in touch with us, not only through our website, but we also have a Facebook page. Buc-Ops is all that needs to be searched, and they can contact through the Facebook page as well. We've had numerous veterans and dependents, spouses, children contact us through that site for their veteran. We also have an Instagram page, buc.ops is the search on that. And then we also have a Snapchat, which is buc.ops, where, the Snapchat's pretty fun because whenever we're on our trips, we always do some sort of shenanigan.
That's great.
I'm going to hand the phone over to Jason, Bruce.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, Bruce, I'm here.
Yeah, so Jason, where's Buc-Ops heading, and how can people? What do you need from people? Let's talk about the future, and then let's talk about what you guys need.
So like we said earlier, we're headed up this weekend. I'd like to just kind of go back just a little bit. We have been on the road for the past 3 weekends. We've been in Western Kentucky, here in Southern Tennessee, and now we're headed up to Southern Indiana. And so kind of just to reiterate how Zach had said, we put miles on the truck. I think that's a huge understatement. But those that follow us, they say, they think we're salesmen more than a nonprofit organization, trying to get out there and make our rounds. But so the future, we have an outstanding and awesome partnership with a social media marketing company called Odashare, which is Odashare. And they have been tremendous in assisting us with our social media presence, along with just getting us out there and getting our name known and putting us in some great context with folks that, you and I and Zach and everybody else watches on Pursuit Channel and Outdoor Channel and Carbon TV and everything. And those great folks have been generous, and those are the ones that we're talking to on a daily basis, and they're blowing our phones up in emails with the how can we help, and it's a great problem to have. I will tell you that, as far as trying to plan those trips. And so we're looking to expand out to the Dakotas, like Zach had said earlier, and finally trying to get down to Florida. Maybe we can get some good coastal weather down around there, and then heading down there for some fishing charters, and then also too trying to take advantage of some great folks out there on the Carolinas that have offered some charters out there towards Outer Banks and the Charleston areas, which is great. And we, like I said, we have a plan. that extends all the way out to the 5 to 7 year range. And right now we're approximately 6 months ahead of schedule just based on our activity and how aggressive we have been throughout this process, along with the great folks like yourself that's been supportive and just helping us get our name out there. And so, like I said, we're ready, or we have been, and we're taking on more trips and more support as we get them. It's like I said, it's a great problem to have. So, and then, but lastly, I'd like to say that with being aggressive, taking on more projects and more events, obviously, it's not always free. And what Zach and I have been doing over the past 10 months is, everything's been coming out of our pocket, but we can only sustain so much. And so what we would like to ask is, just please keep us in mind and follow us and take a look at us, and please contact us because, through donations and charitable organizations that are giving us and supporting us, that's the only way we can continue to flourish and expand. And so, we greatly appreciate that. And please don't hesitate to think of us, when that time comes.
So why don't you take a minute or two and get some shout outs? I know Chad Koch and Oda Sharon, and I forget his father-in-law's name right now, but, they're friends, and they've been on the show a couple of times, and they're just good people up there in Appleton, Wisconsin. So shout out to Oda Sharon. But why don't you get some shout outs, and then we're going to wrap the show.
Okay. This is Zach.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to send a shout out to some of the sponsors that have really helped us out. You got Carbon Skin Products, who Gary Moore and his folks were the first company to actually sponsor us and add us to their pro staff. We have New Fletch Archery, John Marshall. We have C3 Coolers, which we just picked up today, Browning Trail Cams. We have Rifle Caddy. We have Skulls Outdoors and Fierce Products. Chris Armstrong is a great individual to be with. Alps Outdoors was a huge donator. And Alliance Outdoors, I would say, is probably our biggest contributor to this point. They donated about probably almost close to $8,000 to $10,000 worth of equipment. And we also, Teton Sports, Teton Sports, and that's about it right now.
And thanks to you, Zach and Jason, for taking your time today and for putting the miles, on the truck. And you're like a lot of guys, you just say, we're just going to get her done, and this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. And when the people come alongside, they will. But in the meantime, we're going to, we're not going to leave a brother in arm in the field. It's just not going to happen on your watch. So well done, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
On the next show, we're going to meet up with Brian Oldham. Now, Brian has come up with a very interesting app, and he's going to share that with us. And basically, it keeps track of all your points, no matter where you are. If your state that you're applying in has preference points, he's got an app that's going to keep you informed. More than that, he loves to find out where kids have the best chance of drawing a tag throughout the country. And then he shares that information with the people. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Brian Oldham with GutMyTag.com and the Point Hunter app. Stay tuned. I think you're going to find it very informative. I sure did.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.